Welcome to Milsurp Minutes. I'm Nick. Today I'm back here at Bull Moose Guns, where I've been invited by the owner to come take a look at a couple of Type 14 pistols that they have on hand currently. A little bit of background history on the Type 14. These were adopted in 1925 in the 14th year of the reign of Emperor Taisho. He would die in 1926 and be replaced by his son Hirohito. Many of you know as being Emperor of Japan during the Second World War. But that's beside the point. These pistols were initially adopted in 1925 by the Army and 1927 by the Navy, but the Type 14 designation remained across both. These were designed initially to be a simplification of the model 1902 Papa Nambu pistol, which was considerably more complex in how it operated, but still was chambered in the same cartridge. These pistols would be made near continuously between 1925 and 1944, 1945. So you have roughly a 19 to 20 year long production window for these pistols. This one being an earlier pattern, and we have a later pattern one that I'll show you, and show you a few of the differences between a pre-war and a bit of a mid-war pistol. There is also a last-ditch version, which I will discuss later. However, I do not have an example of that here. Looking at how this pistol works functionally, it's pretty straightforward, fairly simple. There's not a whole lot in terms of controls. You just have a magazine release and a safety. And I guess that's where we'll start. Fire position is forward, rearward is safe. I think this roughly these characters roughly translate in Japanese literally to fire as in flames and peace. Something to know: if you own one and are having difficulty operating it, if it's in the safe position, the gun will lock up completely, except for being able to remove the magazine. So I've heard stories about people getting these and thinking it's completely locked up and unusable, and it's just because they didn't turn the safety off. One thing that's very interesting about this pistol is that a lot of design elements of the Type 14 would be taken into account when designing the original Ruger automatic 22 pistols that you still see pretty prolifically to this day. And you'll see that in just the fact that this is a short or long recoil operated pistol with an actual bolt, much like you see with a Ruger 22 pistol. As I said, bolt locks open on an empty magazine. However, it does not have an actual slide stop, so if you take the magazine out, the bolt will drop. Which, at that point, it only really helps you if in letting you know, hey, your gun has run empty, it's time to put a new magazine in. But other than that, it's not like you can just pull the bolt back on a new mag and drop it like that, or it'll stay locked on it. It has fairly rudimentary sights, which we'll see if we can get that into focus. Drift adjustable front blade, fixed rear notch. These would continue to get more and more rudimentary and simple as the war progressed, especially as you get onto last-ditch versions of this pistol. This was chambered in the 8x22mm cartridge. It was a bottlenecked round that is regarded as, it's known to have be about as powerful as, say, .380 auto, which post-war in the US, that was regarded for a long time as being a pretty weak and anemic cartridge. However, there was a lot of contemporary pistols at the time in World War II that were using .380, but it certainly was still outclassed by the 1911 in my personal opinion. Another thing to note about this, especially if you own one of these and plan on shooting it, is the strikers in these were known to be fairly brittle, so much so that when these pistols would be issued, they would be issued with a spare striker. So if you do have one you plan on shooting, I recommend you either buy a reproduction or, first and foremost, do not dry fire this pistol. And you will not see me dry fire this pistol in this video. Beyond that, that's just kind of an overlook of what this pistol is and how to make it work. Now we're going to take a look at how to disassemble this pistol. The process of disassembling the Type 14 isn't too difficult, but it's a little bit tricky. So first off, the pistol needs to be on fire so you can open the bolt, and then from there, rack the bolt open, leave the magazine in the gun. What you're going to do now is press down on this plunger on the back that leads into the striker. And you push it down and you're going to rotate this knob and hold it down until the knob comes off. Like so. Knob comes off. The plunger comes out with the spring and you can pull your striker out. From here, I like to put the bolt knob back in place and then drop the magazine. From here you're going to push down on the barrel against some surface, push in on the magazine release, and pull down on the trigger guard where the whole pack will come out. From here you can take the knob back off, ease the upper half of the upper part of the gun away from the frame, and then you have your locking block comes out, your bolt comes out, and you have your 2 recoil springs. And that's the basic field strip of the gun. Now, to put it back together, do it in reverse. Take the bolt and the recoil springs, make sure your extractor is oriented vertically, insert it back into the I don't want to say, the upper receiver of the pistol. Take your locking block and, let me see, yeah, orient it like so, like that, and you're going to take it and put it back inside of the lower frame of the pistol. Line it up like that, push down on it, and then you're going to use the knob again to hold it together while you assemble it. Take your trigger and trigger guard, pressing down, line it up in that channel there, and press the magazine release button again to let it slide into place and lock into place. Now, take the magazine, put it back in the gun, lock the bolt open, knob out. This is where it gets a little bit tricky. Striker in, spring and plunger in, now you have to keep this pressed down and lined up so that this little tail at the bottom back of the plunger lines up with the cutout in the back of the rear of the bolt knob. What I've been doing in learning how to take these apart is I've been taking a mechanical pencil and using that to hold the striker down in place, and then getting the knob started, and then turning it until it can turn no more. Throw out the mag, and that is how you disassemble and reassemble a Type 14 pistol. So now we have both the pre-war Type 14 and the wartime, but not quite late wartime Type 14 here next to each other, and I can show you a few of the differences. So first and most obvious is the shape of the trigger guard. This is the early style one, the smaller trigger guard, and then you have the later style. Once they switch, this change would be made in 1939 to make it easier for you to fire the pistol with gloved hands. In 1939 they also would have the introduction of this magazine retention spring, which made it so that before what might have been this one really doesn't come out on its own, but a magazine that can just fall out and drop free when you hit the magazine release. Apparently it was said that this led to magazines getting lost and they wanted soldiers to be better at retaining their magazines, so they added the detent that absolutely required you to use 2 hands. And you have a little cutaway hole in the front for this detent to engage with. And that shows another change between early mags and later mags is initially, up until I think 1939, 1940, the magazines would be nickeled. This magazine actually does match to this gun, however, this is not a matching magazine to this gun, but it is correct for it in being a blued mag with the detent hole cut. Another small change made. Now, separate off camera, I took these grip scales off and checked them, and they are both serial numbers matching to each respective gun. It's kind of hard to show in the video, but the number of lines in these would change over the war. This is the earliest one. This has 25 lines cut into each side of the grip. This is a slightly later one that has 24 lines cut into it, and I counted every single one of them. Later they would have a 17-line version before they finally get to the last ditch, which was just a slab wood side with no lines cut into it. Let's see. Another thing that both of these pistols have is the main wartime style bolt knob, which is knurled on the sides and flat on the top and bottom. As you move late into the war, they don't bother flattening the sides out, it's just knurled all around. And another thing you see, it might show up on camera, is just the fit and finishing of the bluing on this gun is nicer than on this gun. What's also different is on smaller components, there are certain parts that are left in the white. So on the early gun, the bolt is in the white. On the later gun, the bolt is blued. And small parts like the trigger, the safety selector, and the magazine release have a straw color, a golden straw color, whereas on this later wartime gun, they are blued. And if I didn't mention the years that these were made, and they're kind of actually a lot easier to date than other Japanese pistols, or Japanese small arms. You have, let's see, a date code here. So this one's 12/8. What that translates to is 1937. So 12 years after 1925, or the 14th year of the Emperor's reign, and the 8th month. So this is an August 1937 pistol. This one is a 1710, which translates roughly to October 1942. So before they'd really started to simplify production of these pistols. So this has been a brief overlook of the Type 14 pistol. I hope you found it to be enlightening and informative. And be sure to check out Bull Moose Guns here in Mint Hill, North Carolina. Give them a call, check them out online. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.